Welcome to this special edition of Why Blank Lost. I'm David Bloomberg, and with me, of course, is my co-host, Jessica Lewis.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this special edition with some very special guests.
Yes,
Yay!
we have two special guests once again to wrap up the season, Tiffany Seely and Dr. David Voce.
We're back.
Yay, round of applause. Round of applause.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, you are back. And I'm sure there are certain listeners right now going, damn it.
I think the majority, especially when they heard Tiffany was going to be here this time.
Oh,
I'm sorry
I'm gonna
he
be-
started.
Listen, I'm going to be very quiet because he started. So that's one Voce and one Tiffany because they're excited because I'm here, Voce. And I'm going to be so good today. This is going to be my best podcast ever.
Best
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
all right.
That's setting the bar very high.
Yeah,
Listen, got to bring it.
She
yeah.
does better with bars and beams. So
Oh, boy. That was mean. It's okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
All right. Well, usually we are here to discuss why a player lost by comparing their game to my rules for winning that I originally wrote way back after season 1. And you can find it RHAPup.com/YXLostFeed. But today, the rules go out the window,
Oh, I love that.
mostly because we know Tiffany can't follow them anyway.
That's right.
Mm,
I am not
That's
a rule
fair.
follower. Just know it. I'm like a villain. I'm a villain.
Well, we've got questions about villains,
Oh,
so
good. Can't
we'll
wait.
get to that. Now, I just want you to notice I am differentiating myself from the three of you. You three are former Survivor players.
And
I
you're a
am not.
podcaster.
Yes. So I just wanted to wear this shirt to make sure everybody knew, who was who.
Okay, I'm
All right.
Fender. I'm Fender. Just refer to me as Fender today.
Fender,
Fender.
the guitar, or from a
Yeah,
car?
well, it's on my shirt, so I'm Fender.
Oh, okay.
I'm differentiating myself from Voce.
Listen, if I had known, I would have worn my rock t-shirt or
Yeah.
something.
Oh. All right.
Got to get Tiffany a balance beam T-shirt.
Oh, here we go. Tiffany still needs your rules. Okay. I still don't have your rules.
I
didn't
know
get-
you need. Did you
No.
send me your address?
I don't want them anymore. I don't want the
No.
fakakta rules
It's-
anymore.
it's-
No, because you
It's
know what?
over.
Tiffany, I'm
What?
sending you something in addition to the poster. So I
Oh.
definitely need your address. So you need to message it to me, okay?
I'm getting a.
I mean, even Carolyn
Yes.
has the rules.
Oh, Carolyn.
No,
has
she
the rules.
ordered them.
She must have ordered
so-
them. We didn't know,
Oh, I
Yes,
didn't
but-
order them. No, I
But
didn't.
yes, so send me your address because you just said something that made me giggle, and so I'm gonna send you a little special something.
Oh, I was so excited.
Yeah.
I love a little special something. Voce, what are
Good.
you sending me?
Himself.
because
It's
we're
true.
doing
It's
papers
true.
now, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Voce's moving in, so it's all good.
Yeah.
It almost happened. He was almost moving in.
The face he just made
I mean,
was great.
You have an extra room now, right? Isn't your son,
I
graduating?
have
and
2
going to
extra
college?
rooms.
Okay, there you go.
She lives in a place called Hicksville, Bloomberg.
I do not live in Hicksville. That's the stop on the Long Island Railroad. You're
I
so
will be
embarrassing right
living-
now. You
I
don't
will
know
be living
anything.
in Manhattan, and Tiffany lives in Hicksville.
Okay. All right.
I knew
Okay.
someone when I was in college doing an internship. She lived in Townville. I was like, what? They couldn't think to name it if it was a town or a ville, so they named it Townville.
Yes.
there you
and
go.
Yeah.
We had the same problem with Hicksonville,
Yeah,
and they brought it together. The truth is, Voce is just like a newbie on the Long Island Railroad, and he doesn't understand that Hicksville is like a hub for like the Plainview, Syosset, Woodbury,
See,
Bethpage area, Old Bethpage. So he took a train out here for a party that I threw for him and I for our premiere show.
Hmm.
And he made fun of me the entire time that he had to stop and get off at Hicksville because he's so not a New Yorker. And we won't even talk about
Yeah.
where he thought Union Square was. Forget it.
Yep.
Don't
There's
even
only-
start, Voce.
I'm a New Yorker now, though.
Okay, now you are. But before that, he sent me to somewhere completely different to meet him once in the city. But we won't talk about that.
Oh, I think we
Yeah, if-
discussed that actually.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
I'm the one who's not good.
Yeah,
It's
if there's anyone who lives in Hicksville, it's that would be me.
Yeah, okay. Stay fair.
I grew up in Hicksville. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There is nothing up there where I came from, but anyway.
But there was you. So
There was thank you. There was
Yeah.
me.
We actually have a
welcome.
contestant on Survivor 45 who is only an hour and a half away from me.
wow.
Oh,
you know,
really?
that's pretty
Who's
good.
that?
Oh, you would ask me that question.
I would.
Of course, you
Um,
brought
You
it
know, you're-
up.
I'm
Come
supposed
on.
to ask you
contestant.
questions in this podcast, not the other way
Oh,
around.
sorry. I forgot my role.
It's hold on. This is very exciting podcasting. Hold on.
Our listeners are enjoying this
yes,
immensely.
it is not that person. It is not that person. It is Nico. Nico lives in
Nico.
O'Fallon, Illinois.
All right.
Wow. Okay.
Exciting.
So
Well,
So
if
I
you're
guess
listening,
rooting
Nico.
for Nico.
yeah, I think on the preview in the reunion show, he was the first one shown, I believe.
Ah.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. So what,
So-
what do we read into that? Anything?
No.
No.
So
We're not reading into anything.
no. So
Good.
to start, Tiffany, it has been a while since we last spoke. So what is
Mhm.
new? What are you up to? One listener wrote in to say, you look so happy, you must not be teaching anymore.
Oh yeah, that tracks. No, I am teaching. I'm just so happy because it's June and it's
Yeah.
almost over.
Hmm.
I don't know. I look so happy. I'm always happy.
She does look happy. I was just telling you guys before, but we ran into each other in Soho, and she was coming down the street, and I took a second look, and I was like, "Who is that movie star?" And then I saw that it was Tiffany coming towards me, and I was like, "My emotions are so confused right now. Who is this drop dead gorgeous woman approaching me right now?"
Oh God, Voce, go
Look at
on.
that. Well, now.
I
That
know.
was
You
the
do look
nicest
great.
thing you've
I
ever
was
said.
as shocked as anyone.
Okay, listen. I did look rather adorable that day, but Voce is not used to seeing me in my habitat.
Mm-hmm.
But he
I was
has
like, this-
seen you
This
in your
is me in my
habitat.
habitat. Well, to be fair, I wasn't my best self on my show. My show, as in
Yes.
my own show.
Yes.
The show. I wasn't my best self, but that's what it's good to come to start low because then anything is better than that. So,
Anything's better than the beam.
Yeah.
anything is better than the beam. It's so bad. Okay, I was just telling this story today. It is so bad that people don't recognize me at places. And then when I'm in, the finale party in
Mhm.
Brooklyn this week, I was just telling you guys before we started this podcast that Danny was sitting next to me, Danny from season 44 from the Bronx. And he reaches his hand out to shake my hands and he introduces himself to me. I'm Danny. I said, "Oh, I'm Tiffany." And he said, "Holy shit." I was like, I said, "All right, take it easy. Okay. I know it's not that serious." He had no idea. He's like, "You just look so fit." I think what he meant to say is not fat, but that's fine. That's cool. I was like, "All right, Danny." So he's like, "No, I just did." I'm like, "It's fine. It's cool." But you know what? In all fairness, we look like not so great on the show to begin with. We're not our best selves. And, I've been working on myself a little bit. So I've been,
It is
other than
incredible.
doing Pilates. I opened my store again online, which has been
Mhm.
quite the event because I was hacked originally. So I had to open an actual store online again and regain all my people, which has been a struggle. And then I've been doing a little micro influencing. It's just like a side gig for fun.
Yes,
I
I've seen
saw
you
that on
opening.
Instagram.
I've seen you opening boxes of things.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm
mhm.
getting so much good stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
making $100 here and there. I'm like, I'll take it.
Do I have the video recording? Tiffany sent me. So she's trying to be an influencer, and there was some intimate apparel that she was supposed to model.
It's
And
on there.
And so they wanted to do still short 2-second still frames, but she does this montage of 2 minutes of her prancing around, throwing her hair back in the most awkward looking model shots ever. It's I was like, Tiffany, this is not what they want. Trust me.
Listen, in all fairness, I redid it and it was exactly what they wanted. And it's on my Instagram. So it's just not on my profile grid. You got to go into my reels and you'll see it. It's rather sexy, I think.
Not the ones you sent me, not the raw.
No, not those. Those are outtakes, Voce.
You look like a seal.
You were such a jerk. All right. He just doesn't want,
Oh my
people must
gosh.
think this is really, really super awkward that I'm sending Voce like lingerie pictures. Like, Voce, what are you even telling people?
Listen, I do have to be honest with you right now because my mom, she's a listener and loves the podcast and has listened to all of the episodes in which both of you appear. And the first time that you were on together afterwards, she was like, "Are those two dating?"
It's the big question that we don't tell anybody.
And I was like, "Mom, they're definitely not dating. Tiffany's married. They just were on the show together, but it was hilarious." My
Yes,
mother
let me
was
introduce
all
you
about the
to
tea.
Matt and Franny.
But we
Yeah,
need
so
a
it
name,
was quite
Voce. What
cute.
would our name be?
Tiff
Viffany?
Voce. Tiff Voce.
Tiff
Vophany.
Voce.
Hey, we could be the next showmans, Tiffany. If we went
Oh,
back,
oh my God.
that would be amazing.
We'd be such a great showmance.
Yeah,
We'd be so in love.
in love.
In love.
Tiffany, again,
What?
husband, remember?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's okay. He's cool with it. It's like
Kind
open
of
okay,
marriage stuff.
as long as he's cool with it, that's fine.
Right, Voce? We're like it's a new reality show. It's Voce, Tiffany, and Steve. It's cool. It's awesome. I mean, listen, you should all jump on. Don't be haters. It's don't knock it till you try it. Everybody needs a Voce in their life.
I love this.
Yeah,
Well,
something-
speaking of Voce, we did speak to you earlier this season. What is new since then, other than you're moving?
Yeah, that's kind of been the main thing. I'm finally done with neurosurgery residency, and I'm moving to New York City for a little bit more training. But yeah, life has been crazy. It's been moving at just warp speed, basically. And Tiffany has been helping me navigate moving to New York City. She's had some horrible opinions on apartments and horrible opinions on how to go about doing it. But despite that, I've appreciated her help. So yeah, it's going to be, I wasn't able to go to the finale just because I've been going back and forth, or the finale party in New York City, but back and forth. But, I'll hopefully be able to go to some New York things now that I'll be in New York City. So I'm excited for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you said you're done with your residency. You're just getting a little more training. So
Yep.
all those people that you've done brain surgery on, those were all just training exercises.
Just training exercises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
9 years of training exercises finally are done.
Oh gosh, that is the craziest thing.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh my.
Yep. He's big stuff, this guy.
It is kind of insane that you are an actual brain surgeon. That's a big deal,
It's a really big deal.
It's like right, like those are the types of things that people say. Well, it's not brain surgery, it's always like that's what everyone compares it to. Like that is the hardest thing, which it really is the hardest thing. So yes, incredibly impressive.
And they also say it's not
Incredibly.
rocket science, so that's why Carson didn't tell them he was
Right.
doing
Yeah.
rocket
So
science.
just
Remind me,
amazing.
Voce, did you told them you didn't lie about your backstory at all, did you?
Yeah, I thought briefly about doing that when I was going out there, but I realized very early on that being a neurosurgeon is like who I am through and through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My life, my background, the amount of schooling and everything. And so to connect with people, I really felt like you have to be able to have a believable story to relate with. And so
Right.
for me personally, I didn't think that I would be able to lie enough because it's such a huge part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since, I didn't have a family, things like that. I thought about, lying about having a family, something like that. But then the lies, that would just be too much when you're in a game where you're already lying. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the reason why I didn't do that, was because I just felt like it would
Yeah.
be many lies.
And this season, I think we saw what would have happened if you had tried with Josh.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
pretend this 9 years didn't happen, or
Yeah, exactly. But-
although
Yeah.
I suspect you're a better liar than him, but
He's a horrible liar. Voce is a horrible liar.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He lied to my face and he voted me out. That's fine.
He didn't vote you out.
Yeah, he
You
tried.
Well, try. That's my pet peeve when people say they voted me out. It's like, no, they didn't, because you're still there.
Well,
They
that's
may
true.
have tried to vote you out.
He tried like hell.
Yeah. I mean, it was him or
I did
you.
not try like hell. You were like there on a silver platter, literally just lying there on the beam, silver platter.
And you were like sitting,
Don't
stroking
be.
your beard in the
Don't be.
fire. lamenting at the moment that I was going to be walking off and being snuffed. Jerk. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he loves me anyway. So see what happens? It's my superpower. I make people love me that don't love me. So it's a win-win for me.
There you go.
Well, and you finally were the one that actually voted him out. So there's that component as well, right?
I mean, it was only one vote.
In other words, can anyone say, bitch?
He tortures me on a daily basis. You should all know. Daily basis.
I mean, you just ruined his dream. It's okay.
It's all right. You ruined my dream too.
How did I ruin your dream?
Because all I wanted to do was play with you the whole time. We fell in love day one, and then you just left me.
You voted him out.
Because he was voting me out. I told him he looked so good. He was standing against a tree with his arm up, and I was like, oh, don't move. That is a good look for you. I was like, this is crazy. Meanwhile, I'm looking like a hot mess. And and then that was it. We were a showmance, and then he had to leave. So that was my dream. Ruined, Jess. Ruined forever. It's okay.
Well, yeah.
It sounds like you might need like couples therapy or something. I don't know.
I think that's what this is.
This is what we're doing.
What this is. I'm sure all of the listeners are like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They don't know what to think about us. They're very confused.
Yeah.
Well, you confused my mother, so yeah.
Oh, good. We're just gonna let this live on until people finally figure out that it just is what it is. We're in love. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Is it lust or love?
That's a really good question. We have to talk about that privately. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why privately? You're here.
Well, there's some things that you have to just.
There's only so many things we can discuss on this podcast, Bloomberg, that won't get us in trouble.
That podcast is coming. You asked what we were up to. It's the Voce and Tiffany podcast where we will dish all our secrets.
All right.
Can we be guests on your podcast?
Yes. 1,000%.
I love this. Oh my, Bloomberg, we can wreak havoc. It will be so much fun.
We're going to say that we're available and then say we're not, and then tell them that we thought it was this time.
Who this time was the pain in the ass to schedule?
I was.
Well, she was. Yeah.
I was, because it's my son. He has something every single night.
Yeah.
I feel like the last time too, Voce was like in the shower when we were supposed to start.
Yes, that is true.
Oh, how about the night Voce bailed on us when it was just me?
Oh,
I mean, he was on an
airplane. Yeah.
Well, what the hell was he doing on an airplane?
Flying to go skiing.
That's really stupid. That's really stupid when you have a podcast.
He's a traveler. He's a world traveler.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's always going somewhere. Mm-hmm.
He is.
Actually, it's a good thing. You said Friday night, and I was about to text Bloomberg when Tiffany said she couldn't do it. I was like, I'm going to be on a plane again.
That's all he ever does is fly around.
Yeah.
He flies around. Cool.
All right. Well, we should probably
moving on.
Yeah, we should probably get into this. I want to start with something that wasn't a question per se, but was something that I was thinking, and I don't think I talked about it in the finale podcast because I just don't think there was room. And I just found this note in my notes, and I'm like, that must be for this podcast. It was just something I was thinking about with the Tika 3. And I think what stands out so much about them is that none of them ever turned on each other. I mean, we just spent all this time talking about you two turning on each other. But like, part of it was because Heidi won final immunity, and there's the horrible fire making. So, I mean, we talked about on the finale podcast that we would have liked to see what would have happened if they had to vote one of themselves out. But because they didn't, there are no feelings whatsoever of ill will. Yeah. And, nobody can point to the other and say, you ruined my dream. Even in the finale, we saw Jam Jam helping Carson, to do fire making. And when we saw in the final tribal council, Jam Jam said one thing about Carolyn not needing to use her immunity idol. But that was the only thing that we saw, at least, that was any sort of a clash between the two of them. And in fact, he was doing so much encouraging that my son, when he was watching, he texted me afterwards and said, I thought Jam Jam was going to accidentally help Carolyn to win with as much he was encouraging her.
Mm.
And so it was just a very interesting difference compared to what we're used to seeing.
Yeah. I do think that it's a really hard thing to process when you have to turn on someone that you have been working very closely with. I experienced it. It was horrifying. The response to it was terrible. But what everyone has to recognize about Survivor is you are playing your own game and you have to do what's going to work for you. And if someone else's plan is going to not work for your plan and it's going to contradict or counteract or put your game in a terrible place, then you have to respond to that. And so, I mean, Tiffany and Voce were just talking about voting each other out, but Tiffany was afraid he was voting her out, so she had to vote him out. And so it's like, it is an awful moment in your game to have that realization that I have to turn on someone that I thought I was going to be able to play this entire game with. But now things have shifted and I need to think about myself. It's a very, very hard thing to do because it feels very selfish, but at the same time, it's a game for $1 million and you're there to win.
Yeah.
You're there to be selfish. But the Tika 3 also, and we talked about this a little bit in the finale podcast, there is every season we have covered, I think, Jessica, there has always been this situation, or at least recently that I can remember, where someone looks at someone else and says, they're going to stab me in the back. So I need to
here he is with the sword thing.
Yes.
Oh my God. What is this? Chucky? What's happening?
He's a weapon. He has a weapon.
I
Why
have
do
my
you have a
sword and
weapon?
shield for the for the theme of the
I didn't know we were doing props.
Yeah.
I have a remote control.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's, they're going to stab me in the back, so I need to stab them in the back first.
Yeah.
And these three never did that.
Right.
And so they made it, to the final four together.
Mhm.
Whereas, every other time people are like, no, I've got to get them before they get me. And it's interesting because one thing that James from last season has been saying, and we're actually going to do a podcast with him. We don't know exactly when yet. We're going to let things settle down a little bit, but he talks about how threats should bring other threats rather than trying to knock them out. And we always talk about it's a balance. And so, in this case, they all brought themselves. I do think part of that was Carson thought he could win. I think Jam Jam thought he could possibly or probably win. And I mean, Carolyn never really spoke about it, so I'm not entirely sure. She said at a couple points she knew she needed to get Carson out, but then Carson went and won Final Five immunity. So,
what's interesting about that is the Final Five immunity. Why Jam Jam wasn't on the block then? That was, I think, a major question that I had at that point was, because it seemed like, and I've talked to Carolyn and them a little bit about this, but it seemed like, that's kind of bringing it down to the wire. That's when you start turning on each other. And so it is interesting. It didn't turn at that point.
I think
I think they discussed it. I mean, I think Jam Jam out of the three of them was definitely at some point considering going against. More than the other two were. I think Carson was playing it like he would. Carolyn was playing like he would. I think Jam Jam actually really thought about doing it at one point because it was maybe what was going to be best for his game, but obviously did not end up doing it for whatever reason. But it happened to be. So I feel like Carolyn felt like she wasn't being taken seriously the entire time. And when you have a final three like that, where two are a threat and those two believe that they can win. So Jam Jam thought he could win. Carson thought he could beat everybody. And both of them maybe didn't think that Carolyn could take it. So then she's sort of a threat because she's with the three, but she's not a threat to them in their minds. If that's the way everybody else is looking at Carolyn, I do not believe that to be what she was at all. I thought she
Right.
played a really, really excellent game, and was
Mm-hmm.
completely underestimated. Like, I thought she played great from the jump.
Right.
She made moves. She did crazy fun stuff. Like, she was a great character. She played true to herself. But the truth is, if you're Jam Jam and you're Carson and you have Carolyn who's being underestimated, then you kind of, what's really the negative part of taking her? There really isn't. She's another number,
Right.
and they're
Yeah.
going to get to the end.
Yeah.
What I will tell you, or just like watching it back, I was talking to Evie about this. It was frustrating because myself, Evie, and Xander were kind of like the Tika 3 in our own little world when we were playing with Yasa. And going into the merge, we were like, we have everything we need. It's me, you, him. He's got he's got an immunity, he's got an extra vote. And like, the thought of not sticking together makes us so crazy when we think back about it, because it's like, why the hell did people start to flip? It's like, this is so simple, just stay together, but people don't, for many reasons,
Right.
obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it's nice to see that it finally did work, because if you really truly believe in your person or your 3 people, it's like the solid 3 that you can take no matter what.
Right.
So they did just a really fantastic job. And also there was a lot of luck involved. It happens to be a game of luck also, where the
Mm-hmm.
perfect thing is being used, you finding an immunity at the perfect time, somebody wins immunity at the perfect time. Like, it's almost like all their stars aligned perfectly up until, when they had to make fire. And it's very interesting that it played out the way it did. And there were no hard feelings, because myself, I remember when it came down to the day that Evie won her immunity necklace, she knew it was going to be me out. And we talk about this all the time, because she was on the chopping block, and I was like, oh, she's like, I'll never forget how genuinely happy you were for me that I won, even though you knew that meant that they were going to come after you. And it's like, because it's at that moment in the game, it's so hard not to be like human, like rooting for
Mm-hmm.
somebody that you're with and that you love, and you're in it together, and it's kind of like, oh shit, well, now I'm going to be voted out,
Right.
and actually the thought of me having to have written Evie's name down was like awful. Like, I couldn't even, it was hard enough for me to write Voce's name down after 3 or 4 days of just being with him. But to be fair, him and I, we've talked about this. We really didn't talk strategy. We were like friends that didn't talk strategy. It was just stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
it was just bad move on both of us. Like, we were a little cagey with each other, but we knew we were like we just clicked. But at the end of the day, you have to click on a lot of levels. And
Yeah.
so to end up having to vote somebody out that you're so super tight with, is really difficult in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
really difficult. So I
Yeah.
feel like they didn't really have to make that decision at any serious time. They were sort of protected all the way along for whatever reason.
I would say they protected themselves,
Right.
but what you were talking about actually goes back to something that Jessica and I talked about, and actually I just posted a TikTok on shortly before recording this, which was, you two were social with each other,
Right.
but you didn't use that social connection in the game. And that's where the social game, people talk about, well, this person was really nice, or well, that's great. But if you don't use it to advance your game,
Right.
then it's
Right.
not as helpful. And that's where Carson and Jam Jam and Carolyn, all of them did that. They made these connections and used them within their game. And I think
Mm-hmm.
other people felt those connections. Like, I think Jamie and Lauren felt super, super tight connections with Jam Jam and Carson. And that's why they believed they were the main real alliance.
Yeah.
And they didn't know they weren't until Jamie was headed out the door.
Right. Right. But, and when I place myself in that situation, though, I have to be honest. I feel like there's no way I'm thinking I'm tighter than Carson and Carolyn and Jam Jam if I'm Jamie and Lauren. There's no way I'm going to believe.
But that's
that,
what we see.
Right.
That's what we see. And Carolyn apparently was staying in the background. They were playing up their bickering.
Right.
And sometimes they weren't playing it up, apparently, because Carolyn would get mad.
Right. Well, that's exactly what. So that is very interesting, because Danny, the day I got voted out, I think it was the day I got voted out, Danny was like, Xander was not talking to me. We were really not talking. He thought we were acting. And it really bit me in the ass, because we would have been solid. Like that, he kept saying, "Oh no, this is an act," but it wasn't an act. We had already split, so like you don't know what's going on the island, and we see the edit. Yes, of course. And you don't know what's happening, you know, on the other side of it. But as a player, having been out there, I would have a hard time going into Luvu from Yasa saying these three are not tight. Like I would that would just always be in the back of my mind. Like how can they not be?
I think the other thing to mention that I'm not sure if you guys have talked about this, but I think that one of the, and obviously there's most people will have issues with the new era of Survivor, but I think one of the issues that I noticed while I was watching this season, almost back-to-back episodes, I didn't watch it in real time, especially towards the end, is that the post-merge is day by day. That there's a challenge, then you go back, and then there's a vote, then recycle next morning. I think with the exception of one day, they had one off day. It was just this repetitive cycle, which in the old ways, I think it was like that. It started that way, you know, on day 34 or something, or day 35. And that's when it went to each day was that kind of at the end. But, you know, before that, at the merge, you still had the days to get to know people and to just have that kind of downtime. So I really, this new era, I think one of the ways why Tika works so well together and why you see these tribe divisions like that is because you're thrown into this pressure cooker where there's no time. It's and I can't, you know, just with the schedule, with the filming schedule, to do a challenge and tribal council in a day, the amount of scrambling time that you have, in addition to, you know, just basic chores, you know, taking a shit, doing stuff like that. How much time does that really?
That was eloquent.
To actually make social connections with those people that are on the opposite tribe, and I think that's one of the biggest criticisms I would have with the new era is kind of that post merge. You know, are you actually able to develop relationships with new people to the same extent with that type of schedule?
Yeah,
and I think that's a great point. Yeah,
because we got a question. I can't find it right now in my scrolling, but you know, one thing that I've been talking about through the season is that Jamie kept bringing up and Jeff kept bringing up at tribal councils and elsewhere. You know, Jeff introduced the finale by saying, and I think he closed it out by saying, ever-changing alliances, ever-shifting alliances. And it's like, no, are you even watching, Jeff? The Tika 3 moved without shifting. Most of the others, the Soka Ratu War, you know, and almost every, I think of the new era, almost every season has been that way. The alliances don't shift because there are not pre-merge swaps and there's not enough time to get to know people in the post-merge.
Well, which almost makes it like you can start guessing who's going to be voted off next, which is what I feel like I was able to do a little bit this season. Like they did a really good job with editing, and I thought, you know, the storytelling was really good, and I felt, you know, I could see, I don't know if it's just because I'm now I view it differently because I know the game so much better now, but I felt like I was able to see who was going to be. Yeah, I know the game now. I didn't know it as well before when I went on, to be honest.
She's been watching this podcast, so now she's learning.
Now I'm like really good. Before I wasn't so good. But like I really feel like I was able to tick them off one by one and be like, oh, this one's next. If it's not this one, it's this one. Like, and I think that does speak to the amount of days. There's just, I mean, speaking to being in the new era, having gone to merge, I didn't even get to speak to Erica. Like there was no time for me to even make a serious relationship with anybody except for the initial, you know, pleasantries. How are you? I'm so happy to meet you. And then it's like, you know, who's being called off to you know, have a confessional, and you're so trying to get in there, and it's just very, very, very difficult. The time crunch is insanity, and it is very hard to shift. It should be called the never changing alliances because you can't really.
But Jeff doesn't want to admit that. Jeff doesn't want to admit. So he calls it this. And, you know, it's propaganda.
Propaganda.
Yes. The other side of that I would add is that I think that it makes it harder. You know, players like Danny and Brandon. I don't think Danny and Brandon would ever have voted for Carolyn, you know, ever. Because they kind of value, you know, different things. But I think that when it's when they have so little time that, Danny and Brandon, especially Brandon, how much did they actually get to know Carolyn? And I guess they had that bro trip or whatever.
Yeah.
But I kind of think that like that kind of even exemplifies more of that time crunch. Like I don't think that there was any way for them to get to know her with that with that time constraint, and I don't think there was any way that they were ever going to vote for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about how that final vote can really boil down to who do you like more.
Well, yeah.
And so that's why the relationships matter so much. Like, who are you developing relationships with, and who do you know? Because if it comes down to this person versus that person, and both of them had strategies that you liked, well, who do you like more? Because that's what you also want, is you want the winner to be someone that you can kind of get behind and root for. So I do think that there is a significant issue with the lack of time and the lack of relationship building that comes from this 26-day game, which we can get away from now. We can go back to 39 days. It's okay. Like, the world has come back around. Like we can do this again.
But they're not going to.
They're not going to. I don't think they are. I think
they're, I mean, the show was one of the top ranked CBS shows, and they get to save money on it. So,
it's a shame because it is a social game, and you're missing so much of that social, not only just the social interactions, but even for editing purposes. Like, I remember watching seasons where we would be sitting watching someone chopping up coconut for like a good 5 minutes, talking with the other cast members.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like everybody's dying for those moments. Like, we want those moments back. We want more camp life. We want the real connections to show. And it's kind of relying a bit on backstories and, a little bit of this kitschy stuff, which I get. But at the same time, like, we love the things that made Survivor. I'm hoping that the gavel means that auction's coming back, but I guess
I think so. And also, the extra 30 minutes. We'll see what Jeff does with those extra 30 minutes.
Right.
My thing with the extra 30 minutes is that it almost seems backwards.
Right.
You needed the extra 30 minutes
for the 39 days.
Right.
Yeah.
39, and not that you still, especially in the beginning, the extra time will be important. But when you have these, honestly, the last days are kind of boring now because it's just that repetitive cycle on steroids where there's not enough time to actually have legitimate strategy talk. So I would worry that they would just make it more about, more challenges, more time spent.
No.
Trinkets,
never.
searching.
I mean, some of it will be challenges because, like, I know that Heidi mentioned in her interviews that there was a reward challenge
that they didn't show.
That they didn't even show.
Yeah.
Was the one where they won the fish. So yeah.
All right. So we get another reward challenge in the mix, but like that's.
Yeah. No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
But counterintuitive. It's not really doing what we want.
Right.
The other thing that you said, Jessica, that I kind of definitely agree with is that you said, it's in for winners, a lot of times it comes down to who do you like more, or kind of the popularity contest.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, like that's what Survivor is, because you're going to vote. Like, sure, you can appreciate strategy, but in very few instances, Russell, you're not going to vote for someone that's a complete asshole, even if you think that they're a great strategist.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
You want to feel good about who you're voting for.
But, and this is, so you apparently didn't have time to watch our finale podcast, because this is something that Stephen Fishback and I have a feud about. Because he insists it's like the primary only reason. But you look at this season and you look at the reasons that were given, and Jam Jam in the final tribal council went through and explained, this is how I made all my game moves. And afterwards, Franny and Kane and others were like, okay, this is why we gave him the win, because he explained his game moves. Carolyn did not. And Carolyn herself kind of was beating herself up afterwards, saying, I just stuck to the emotional and didn't talk about the game.
Right.
So I think it is kind of what you said, Jessica. If you have two people who are tied, they are dead tied when it comes to strategy, then yes. And then there's the extreme that you said, Voce, of the Russells, where people are like, no, I'm not going to vote for an a-hole. I don't care if he thinks he ran the game. But other than those two extremes, yeah, you need to pretend to be nice so that you're not voted out for being an a-hole or you lose for it.
Yeah.
And you need to play the social game, but it's still the game. They're not just, we've seen many times, they're not just going to vote for the nicest person, often because the nicest person gets voted out early, as happened to you, Voce.
I'm sorry. I need to interject. I've been so good through this podcast. Voce was not the nicest person.
I find that hard to believe.
I was nice. I was nice on the island to your face.
You called me Free Willy.
To the cameras, not to your face.
Yeah.
But then you told me about it.
You did such a great, when we got back, I was like, you did such a great job. You tried your hardest. That's all that matters.
Oh my God. Do you think I bought your line of bullshit? Because I didn't, clearly. Anyway, moving on.
So before we need to get to questions. But before we get to questions, I do want to remind people about something that Tiffany brought up earlier. And that is the people can get a poster. You can go to, let me see if I can.
You can go to Voce's house. You can go to Carolyn's house. You can go to Jessica's house. You know whose house you can't come to for a poster? Mine.
You can also go to RHAP's website.
Send me your address.
/YX Lost Feed. And scroll down, click on the poster and order one. Or you could keep scrolling and you get the poster on a t-shirt or the checklist on a t-shirt. So again, that's like I said, RHAPwebsite.com /YXLostFeed. And so
can I say one thing before you move on to the next?
Sure.
I know there's going to be a question, but just in regards to that final vote and whether or not it comes down to who do you like more? Wendell and Dominic. It's a perfect example of it coming down to who did someone like more, because it was a tie and it came down to one person.
That was a tie, literal.
Right. But but she had to choose who her vote was going to go towards. And Wendell knew he was getting her vote because he knew they had a better relationship. And and so that's a perfect example of strategy across the board. They were even. And so the relationship building is so significant. And I really do think
when all the votes are 7-1 now, it doesn't matter,
that's the other thing. I think what's happening in this new era is people are afraid to go rogue. Like, let this person win by a landslide, or, I just think it's like, it's the 7-1. Like, it's like you're almost throwing that one vote as like I don't know. It's weird to me. I feel like it doesn't really give the jury free will. I feel like it's starting to kind of like box you into this vote. Like, who are you voting for? What are you discussing when you're in Ponderosa? And, we talked about this. I don't know where we said, was it you and I, Voce, that we talked about like sequestering Ponderosa, which you can't do, but like.
Right. And that's actually, so we'll get into the questions. John D asked, how powerful are Ponderosa discussions in the final outcome? And Enigma 502 also asked, how different would the results be if the jury were sequestered? So for example, would Franny still have voted for Jam Jam? Now, to me, I think it depends on the season and the person. I think in 43, those discussions were very powerful, and we heard that they basically had a roundtable discussion at some point, and they, compared notes. It's less clear to me for this season because until Carson got to the jury, I'm not sure everybody even fully knew what all the finalists had done. I think the votes would have gone probably a very similar way, no matter what. Most of them said they came in fairly open-minded and wanting to hear how the players played. Jam Jam, as I was just saying, hit all the right notes. And Carolyn, unfortunately, didn't. And I don't think Heidi would have been able to counter Jam Jam no matter what. So I think in this particular season, I don't feel like it would have mattered. Other seasons, maybe.
Yeah, and I do think that the discussions at Ponderosa are interesting because the people that are coming into Ponderosa who are being voted out are presenting the people there with new information that they're not privy to, right? Like, and this is the thing that I've discussed is having cameras set up at camp or at the challenges so then the jurors can actually watch what's happening, because then you have someone coming in and telling stories that might be true, might not be true, and might be swayed because obviously they just got voted out and so they might be angry. And I know that there was some information that was shared with us that I will not discuss, but it was shocking. It was shocking when people came out of the game and then shared this information with the people who were at Ponderosa. And I actually checked with Jeff because I wanted to know if this actually had happened because it was so shocking. And so I do think that those conversations can have a huge effect on the people who are at Ponderosa, but there needs to be some ability to fact check that information as well. And if you're not giving them the benefit of watching it in real time or watching it after the fact to even make their own judgment, it puts you in a very, very difficult spot because you are being given information that could be true, might not be true.
I mean, isn't that similar? And you would know this better than anyone, as a real jury. A real
No,
jury.
it's not. It's not. And this is why it's not, because the jurors are told they cannot deliberate until they have seen everything, right?
yeah.
Oh,
And
right.
so,
I meant they can't, like, they don't see the crime actually happening unless
Right.
you happen to have a camera or something on it. But
and that is a fair point. Yes.
it is their job to fact check it. Like, the prosecution claims one thing, the defense claims another thing.
Mhm.
Each shows their evidence, each does their talking, and it's the jury's job to fact check it.
Right. And I
so-
think that the difference though is that we are providing the jury something to look at and consider and hear, whereas in this type of circumstance, the jury is only hearing what they are provided at the tribal councils themselves. So they're not seeing everything that Jeff is potentially talking about or not talking about, because not everything is brought up at at tribal council. So they're getting bits of information, and then they're getting a little more information from the person who gets voted out. So they, again, are not getting the whole picture. And so this is why we've talked about how difficult it is for people in a final tribal to come in and then try to explain their game. So to your point, Voce, about Carolyn with, Danny never really knowing Carolyn, they spent some time together, but that is true. That is an accurate assessment of that relationship. And so he's going to be judging her game based on what he saw, which wasn't as much as maybe somebody like Jam Jam saw. But at the same time, then if you are in that final tribal trying to explain your game to someone who wasn't paying attention, who someone didn't know, someone who wasn't making time for you as a player, it becomes very problematic to then say, I want to vote for that person and give them $1 million. So I do think that it's skewed. I don't know what the best answer would be. I don't think sequestering is the best answer, but at the same time, there needs to be a fact-checking ability somewhere for people to determine for themselves if something really happened or not.
Maybe the jurors need a knowledge is power advantage, so they can say at final tribal council,
I mean,
Jeff, is it true that Carolyn, did this? And then Jeff has to answer truthfully, or Carolyn has to answer truthfully and gets fact checked,
That would be
But
hilarious.
the other point, of course, that we know is that when you're coming in from tribal council and you've just been voted off, you're also telling the story. And that may not be exactly what happened either. You may not have all the facts yourself coming out of that.
Sure.
Well, right. And that's why I was saying, Carson.
And then it's like, what are we spreading? Our Ponderosa was a little bit of a shit show, and it was. And, we had to just hash it out and try to figure out what was what. But at the same time, at the end of the day and at the end of it all, you can have all this stuff and you can fact check and do all of that. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Steven on this. I still think it's going to end up being the most likable of the bunch. I just don't see a way around it.
You said you're going with Steven? Okay. So
yes. I wish I had a button to get rid
That
of her.
was so mean. But I'm only saying it because it's human nature to go for what people the feel good. That's just human nature. It's
It is
social
human nature, but like I said, we see time and time again people talking about the strategy. And I know Steven's answer would be, well, they rationalize it. Well,
Well,
you
we have
can't
to talk
use
about the
that.
strategy. That's what we have to say. But I mean, what else are you going to say? You're just going to vote for me because you have to say it. You have to say what you did. But at the end of the day,
Right.
if you're there, you're there.
Yeah, but you had to get there.
Yeah, you did.
The point.
And so you explain it, sure.
Right.
But if I did, let's say I got to the end, let's just say that would be great. If I got to the end and it's my final three, and I really don't do the best job of explaining myself, but I'm sitting next to somebody who's did such a bang up job of explaining themselves, but super not likable. Everyone's going to vote for that person. No way. No way.
But you're going back to the Russell example. Yes, there are extreme examples. If someone is super not likable, who we haven't really seen someone like that in recent seasons, but if they're super not likable, then but that's the extreme example. But we should move on from this point before I have to.
We can move on, but I just want to say that I can assure you that if I had made it to the final three, I know who would not have voted for me because they did not like me.
Oh,
I'm just telling you that.
Oh,
me too. I would say the same thing. 100%.
Yeah.
I know who would not have voted for me. I know exactly who would have.
Oh yeah, you could definitely make enemies. And that's one thing I think that this group did better was they didn't have those enemies.
Right.
I'll jump in and I'll say, like, I think that this is maybe I'm being too negative, but this is a problem with the current casting, is that I think that there is a benefit to having those people that are going to have those personalities that are unlikable.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought this up.
Yeah, because I think that makes like how you get those votes from those unlikable people, I think, all the more interesting. And I think also when you have people that you don't like, I think that makes the people that you do like so much better because I think back to like Co-Wrong with the bullies in that season, like that was a little far, but I think that like that contrast was what kind of made you appreciate the good people that were there.
Yeah,
the snakes and the rats.
Right,
Come on,
and that's
like
another
can we get
question.
Back to that? Yeah,
I don't know that they can because of just.
I also feel like it's a little like I think like Jam, Carolyn, Carson, all like super heartwarming, like Heidi and Lauren. But I think that there's like a little bit too much of his kumbaya crap. Like,
yes! Oh my gosh!
You got it. Like,
you're winning. I love this. Yes.
You gotta like that's good. Like that scene with Jam and Carson helping each other learn fire. Like that was super endearing, and I think that like I get why that's in there. But you also need to have like the contrast there.
Yeah.
And so
like Voce peeing on it when he's trying to make fire.
I mean, I think it's entertaining, but two, I think it just highlights the differences between games and between the way people approach playing it.
And that was a question we were going to get to if we ever actually get to questions.
Okay, get to it.
Get to it.
Which was, John D. I think it was the same one earlier. Do we need villains back on the show? Now,
yes.
I mean, the thing is, here's my opinion on it. It depends on what you think of as a villain. Do we need bullies back on, like in Court? No. Do we need people who are kind of the part of Carson where he was like, I love lying about people after they're gone? Yeah, that's fun. But does that make him a villain? Last season, some people thought Jesse was a villain because he was actually playing the game. And it's like, even he was on Twitter, like, am I a villain? How am I, but okay.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
it's the new villain. It's the new era villain.
Well, right.
The villain from the old days is not going to fly anymore.
Well, right. And that's the thing is, I don't personally care to see jerks on TV.
I think there's a difference. Jerks and someone who is a villain, I think, are two different things. I do think like the Russell Hants of the world. I mean, those are like a combo that we will probably never see again, but
Mhm.
entertaining for sure, and incredible just educational components to games that people want to play after that, to see someone strategizing and really playing the game the way that he was. So we've got to give him credit for what he did and what he turned Survivor into. But yeah, I think now we are definitely missing that component wholeheartedly from the game, where it is a little too kumbaya, and people are too kind, and no one's burning anyone's hats anymore. I mean, come on.
Somebody burned my shirt, so
On purpose?
I mean, they say it fell in the fire, but I'm not sure.
Okay. All
Listen,
right. Well,
right.
listen.
this is
I
interesting.
I'm going to tell you, I did try to stir the pot when I was on my season, and nobody ever, it was like I was the plague. I would say something, whisper something like, let's do, they'd be like, and it was like they were afraid. People were afraid to make moves because of optics. And that is part of kind of what we're kind of dealing with in the world too, right? It's mirroring the world. So people are still tiptoeing. And you know me, I say what I mean what I say. I can't help myself. It's just, I think it comes out of my mouth. So like, if I were ever to play the game again, I'm for sure not going to, you know, be scared to say and do things that might be considered, you know, not villainous, but not as kumbaya and nice, because I think people are getting more comfortable, but also everyone loves the kumbaya, so we're getting more and more of it.
I disagree. Everyone
Listen, we
loves
disagree. We could disagree all day long, but you see Carson and Jam and Carolyn and the Twitter and the social media part of it. They are loved. People love this. Like, they love a group of people that love each other. They're talking about it all over the place. Carolyn, you know, it is being, it's definitely not negative. It's not, you know, making them look bad. So when you have that, it's kind of like, well, are the next players, are we going to have the next, not this season, because they didn't get to see the whole thing, but the following season, is that going to be another Tika 3? You know what I mean? Like, it sort of bounces off each other, and let's see where that goes. But, you know, I feel like we've gotten nicer and nicer and nicer, and it's got to come to a point where it's going to take a little bit of a downturn. And that might be on a returnee season, because that's when you have all of these kumbaya people and all of
that's
the
when
new era
Voce and
people.
Tiffany can get out there and take it over.
I know. Let me tell you something. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him, and I love him. And isn't that a problem? That's a problem.
It's not. I'll take you to the end, Tiffany. I'd love to sit next to you at the end.
Oh, you think you could beat me, you bastard?
I don't think I know, Tiffany. I've heard you try to take your way out of shit.
Oh my gosh.
Voce,
that would be amazing.
Just tell the world how absolutely brilliant I am. Come on.
So,
Voce,
I will say that I think part of this is the editing. I think this season could have been edited to make Jam and Carson look not like villains, but more villainous. If we had seen more, I think, of them talking about basically how they were going to screw over Jamie and Lauren, and how they were going to make these other people fight and cause divisions. Things that were said in the postseason interviews, like, we had these people at each other's throats. There's a reason that Soka and Ratu would not join together.
Right.
If we had seen more of that, then they would have appeared more like villains.
I don't know that Carson with that sweet face could ever be a villain.
I don't think Carson, like you said, his laugh where he's like, I love lying about people.
Like, he's still sweet when he says that.
I
Like,
still love him when he does that.
Yeah.
I think what Jam, I think the reason why he won, from an outsider looking in, is that you just kind of love him when he talks. Because of
everybody loved him. They all said it. They all said the whole cast loved him.
Even if he's scheming or something, to his credit, to his social credit, like, he has that charisma that people just, you know, love it. And so I think even if they were to show them scheming a little bit, I just don't think that it would have the same.
I don't see villain
as happening. You know, I think even, you know, Sandra, when she schemes, right? Like it's kind of a blunt, kind of this is how it's going, kind of a harsh kind of thing. I still like Sandra, but it's not the warm, fuzzy feeling that you have with the
right.
person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, I do have so to get more into questions here. The first one comes from me. So Voce, are there any good Carolyn stories that you could tell us now that you couldn't tell when you were on the first time this season?
Yeah. So Carolyn and I know each other since 2019 when we were in a Reddit group, and then we messaged each other. And so during the entire time our season was airing, Carolyn was on Reddit, saying, "Oh, Voce is amazing," all these things. But she made Team Voce shirts that had my face plastered on it, huge. And Penny Lane Clifton was both of our casting producers. She was casting producer for both me and Carolyn. And side note, anyone in casting, pray that you get Penny because she's absolutely amazing. I still talk to her for a couple months. But so Carolyn is wearing this Team Voce shirt, and Penny FaceTimes her out of the blue. It's because she has a question for her. And Penny, this casting producer, pulls up the phone, and she's like, "What is your shirt?" And then it says Team Voce, and she's like, "Why are you wearing a Team Voce shirt?" She's like, "Oh, I just really love the neurosurgeon." And Penny's like, "That makes no sense at all." Have some weird, and she's like, no reason. I don't know."
That's so.
That's amazing.
So she didn't want to tell casting that she knew you.
Yeah, casting was surprised that that we knew each other. Same thing for Jesse from 43. We had been talking for a while. So
that's incredible.
Also, just a side note, did anybody see Carolyn's video from before she went out there?
Which one?
The recent one she put up where she said she wants to be the Tiffany of her
season?
Yes.
Well, yeah. And then if you didn't see her Instagram live that she was on with Jam and Carson, she revealed some very interesting things that she did before going out on that as well. Some changes to herself that she made.
She did?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Oh my
Before going out to the island?
Yes. So.
Well, listen, I'm just going to say, listen, as a woman who went out there and then ended up looking as horrific as I did because of my eye infections and everything, I wish I had thought better about how to prepare myself for these things.
Too.
Like she did mention she tattooed her eyebrows. So I remember her mentioning that. So like her eyebrows. The eyelashes,
hair extensions.
Yeah, like I mean, like all of these things are like, I'm kicking myself.
Oh yeah, hello. Well, 24 hours I had, but did you see the hot mess? I mean, I literally, I had like Target wear. I don't even go there. Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
All your makeup washed off because you kept ending up in the water.
I can't. No, I had my makeup was all the way down my face. That was a hot mess.
But also I just think this is worth mentioning too. I was told specifically, do not cut your hair. Like before I was even cast on, like before it was official, like I went out to LA and one of the casting directors, when I first got to my room, and they were like, do not cut your hair. Don't make any crazy changes to yourself before if you end up, because they actually had that happen. She gave me an example. Some guy that was going to be out there had like beautiful hair, and they cast him, and then he showed up with short hair and they knocked him. They didn't put him on because he cut his hair.
Get out.
Well,
so
they have
like,
certain.
I was.
Yeah, they have
right, but then I was like in fear. I was like,
yeah, they don't want you to look too similar to someone else. And
my God, I was getting a new tattoo, and I called them for permission. I'm like, listen, I have to finish my tattoo. Like, is this okay? Like,
I know,
am I gonna get in trouble?
I didn't even wear nail polish. Okay.
Yeah.
I would go out and gel nail polish now. Forget it.
Lost Voce. All this talk about.
No, I'm scrolling through my text messages histories with Carolyn because I'm trying to pull out when she was in sequester at LAX. She started sending me videos of her freaking out in her hotel room.
Oh my God, this is incredible.
Well, there are some videos of her in her hotel. Actually, a bunch of them got it, so they must have been like official. But so related, Voce, to what you were saying, we got a question from Candace Bryant asking, how do you get started in ORGs? And well, first, what was the Reddit site you met Carolyn on?
So the Reddit site was just on the Survivor forum, and basically some people would post about casting, and you would ask questions, and I basically would reach out to people that had made it to a few steps into casting, and everyone's super cagey because no one wants to risk their spot or whatever. I ended up with a group of about 20 people that had at least gotten a long application form and a phone call, and we're progressing through the interviews. Jess and Tiffany know this. They always say, it's like, it's the worst boyfriend that never calls back or whatever, for who you're dating or whatever. But
the worst.
They literally do not call you back. So to have other people and to know where they were at in the process just made a little bit more of sanity during the whole process. But
I had none of that. I had no clue.
I didn't either. I didn't
know Reddit existed. I didn't know any of this existed. I didn't know there was Reddit.
Either.
I didn't know Bloomberg. I didn't know Dalton Raw. I didn't know anything. Didn't either. Nothing. And I was clueless.
Yep. I had a friend of mine who was digging into this life way more than I was, and he was like, you realize what all of this consists of, right? I'm like, what? It's Survivor. Like,
that's what I said. I'm so over prepared now. It's not even funny.
So then, Voce, were you on?
Hang on. Let me see if I can make this work.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I'm way calmer today. Okay. I am. Okay. Look like Chucky in this shirt, right? Okay. So I got this, like, today is Saturday, May 28th, 2022. And it is.
She's basically just freaking out in her hotel room.
I was going to say, do we have permission to show that? I don't even know.
I don't have permission,
but
she probably won't care.
Yeah.
Love it.
But so did you also play ORGs with
no, I did not.
Okay.
But she got really into it because several people in the group were like, you should check this out. And so she went full course press because we were actually very similar in that we weren't super fans. And so we both Penny told us like they're only casting, really people that know it. And so we both watched, pretty much caught up on all the seasons and everything. But she went even more full till she had more time because, she was 2 years later. And so she did several award games. But yeah,
she was 2 years later and she wasn't a neurosurgeon.
Fair.
Takes up a little bit of time.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of your time, John wants to know why you're not on Twitter. To which I would counter, why are the rest of us on Twitter? But
it has taken a shift, hasn't it?
It's not the word.
No,
it's not the SHI word I thought you were going for when you said.
No, it's just a shift.
But,
it's
So Voce, why are you not on Twitter?
It's funny because actually professionally, for whatever reason, medical people use Twitter a lot. And it drives me insane. I just have no interest in saying, oh, look at this article. It's so interesting to see what this new thing has published. So that's the main reason, is because I just kind of laugh at everyone trying to advance. And it's just so corny what people post on Twitter from a professional standpoint. Every time I see a neurosurgeon post stuff, I just cringe. And it's like people that I know that are posting look at this amazing tumor. And it's like, stop.
Voce doesn't need Twitter because he's busy sending me TikToks that make him laugh.
Okay, good. Hopefully they're all mine.
Every one of them.
Yes. Okay, good. Now, Donna Reynolds, who was one of my Reality News Online writers back in the day, she wrote in and said, I love that Jam Jam won, but I would also have loved if Carolyn won, and find it puzzling she didn't get any votes. And John D. similarly asked, could Carolyn have won with a better final tribal performance? Now, we addressed this somewhat on the finale podcast. So I'll just tell you what I had said, and then you can, I viewed it as kind of like in each person, there was an electoral college. And so even if your state, yourself was 55% Jam Jam and 45% Carolyn, well, you voted Carolyn or you voted Jam Jam. And so you can't split your votes. So if each person
Yeah.
thought Jam Jam was a slightly better winner, that you don't end up with slightly few, they don't round the votes off like that. You can't give a third of a vote to one person and 2/3 to another. So that's what I was seeing.
I actually talked to Carolyn today about this. And I don't think Carolyn was ever winning against Jam Jam being up there, because I think it was several reasons. One is I think Danny and Brandon were never going to vote for her. I think they carried enough weight to say that, that no, it was going to be Jam Jam. And I think Danny throwing the vote on Heidi, Danny was very impressed by the fire making move, because that's kind of the type of player that he was. Everyone's entitled to do that. But
we're entitled to make faces at them. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that the votes that maybe that could have gone to Carolyn were Franny and Carson. But I think Carolyn said this, that her final tribal performance she crumbled in. And she felt that during the actual thing. And she actually said that she feels like the edit was very generous for her.
Oh, wow.
She was very appreciative that, they could have made her out to be, crazy, but they, she's so lovable. But she said her final tribal was not a good showing at all. She just kind of gave into the pressure that she was an emotional player. And it was several hours where she didn't, for whatever reason, she didn't stand up and say, no, this was my strategy. This is what I did.
Right.
It's kind of, she knew she needed to do that, but she said she let the jury and she let, the other people just get the better of herself. And she felt like it was an abysmal. So she actually said that the editing that we saw she was like, wait, when did I say these things? Because that actually made it seem not horrible.
Wow.
Yeah, she thought she thought she did the worst job ever. And then she was definitely thankful she went the other way. Like,
I also heard that she may have gotten like seasick on the boat ride over, something like that. She
was always seasick. Any blackout boat that she was in, she was vomiting for hours. She said it was miserable for her, the entire experience, because of how many blackout boats almost daily. And every time she would just be vomiting.
Yeah. So that's certainly, going to your final tribal council probably did not help matters any. So yeah. Now, on the other hand, someone who we haven't mentioned is Heidi, and Neil Allen wrote in to ask, was there a point in the game where Heidi could have turned everything around in her favor to win? My thought on this is no. And that's not necessarily anything to do with Heidi herself, but the game that she was in. I don't think any one player could have turned anything around because of what the Tika 3 were doing.
Yeah.
You have 3 people operating as a unit, turning all these people against each other. Franny saw it and could not do anything. And even if Heidi had joined up with Franny at that moment and said, yes, Danny still was not convinced, and the Ratu were not convinced.
Right.
And so I do not think that any one player, Heidi or anyone else, could have turned it around enough.
But she could have, if she had used her idol to save Lauren and then get one of the Tika 3 voted out, because that would have definitely shifted things, because then
we talked about this. She'd have been voted out at Final 5 now.
But I'm thinking that it could have at least shifted things a little bit, because then it
would have shifted things, but not in her favor. She'd have been out in 5th place instead.
Well, no, I mean, you don't know. Depending on who was there, she could have won immunity, or
depends if they
Carson was still there. Well, yeah,
I'm saying if she turned and got Carson out.
Well, if you get rid of one of them, then you have 2 of them now looking for another third, and then you still have the same dynamic. You still have 3.
I think I do agree though with what you're saying, where I don't think she had a shot to win, and I think it goes back to she was with Danny and who else was on that tribe?
Franny, Matt,
Danny, Franny,
Danny,
and
yeah,
I think
and
that
Josh
tribe,
and
I think the problem with that tribe is that they had pretty good dominant players. And I
Yeah.
think that she was more of a quieter player, which is
Mhm.
fine. But I think that she got overshadowed in that tribe by the people that got voted out earlier. And then you're just left with her, who kind of what they saw was kind of a tag along with that. I think that was her bigger problem.
Yeah, I mean, she was playing. I mean, she is a regular listener, viewer, and she was playing, keep your head down. Don't be too much of a threat in a game where there were a lot of threats. But then,
Yeah, but that also
because-
that's you get lost sometimes.
well, you can't. I mean, it's a matter of when you make your move,
Yeah.
because Danny made his move too soon and he was gone. Franny made her move too soon.
Yep.
She was gone.
Mhm.
Too many of these people made their moves too soon. She made it to the, to the
did
finals,
great.
but she was up against the Tika, and that is the problem. Is I do think, and I think I said this in the finale podcast, if she had been playing this game in season 43, she might have won.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure, but she might have. And it really depends so much on who you're playing with and against. And so, no, unfortunately, I don't necessarily think there
I'm
was
going
anything
back to this.
she could have done by herself.
No, she couldn't have done it by herself. But then also, if we go back even further to when Jamie was still in the game, so that was, and we did talk about this with you basically at that point had a 3-3 potentially. Now I know that Jamie and Lauren were kind of ousting Heidi because they kept voting for her. But
Right.
if those three had decided to come together and if Heidi decided to use the idol, because she was on the inside skinny, like they had all the information. They knew who was being voted for because Lauren and Jamie thought that they were so
Right.
close with,
Jam
people
Jam.
from Tika, right, with Jam Jam. And then, so they knew where the votes were going. But again, this goes back to them not thinking that the Tika 3 were what the Tika 3 were. But if they
that
had,
those two didn't. Yeah.
right, those two didn't. But so if there had been some maneuvering at that point, and that would have completely shifted the game, because then you would have had those three being in control because Atika would have been out. So then it's a 3-2, and then we have a whole different ending. But
Except
again,
but that it would have shifted the game. I don't think it would have saved Heidi, because she came independently. She came to the same conclusion that I had come to, which was she would have been voted out next, because you would have had Jamie and Lauren, Heidi, and then two of the Tika, and at least one of those Tika would have been close to Jamie and Lauren. And so what's going to happen? They're going to get rid of the person who just made a big move.
yeah,
and, who just pulled a Jessie. Basically, they're going to get rid of her. And, so yes, if she had made that move and they had knocked out Carson in that moment. That was at final 6. So that he would not have won immunity, then it would have been possible. But that is,
I know that's a whole lot of
that's a lot.
What
That's a
ifs
lot of
and-
would have, could have, should have. And
Yeah.
right.
if I didn't vote out Voce, we could have been at the end together.
Right. Exactly.
We've
been trying to say
I'm playing
this.
along with the question. I'm playing
I
along with the
mean-
question.
Don't worry, I'll get you a recording, Voce. I'll get you a recording of her saying that part. If I didn't vote out
No.
her
I would like the
character.
recording of when Voce said when I was walking down Soho that he thought it was a movie star.
Okay, I'll get that too.
And can you put that on Twitter?
Hey,
I
guys,
like that.
I gotta interrupt. I've got 2 people that want to say hello.
Oh wait, I don't know.
Oh
We're
my
allowed to.
gosh. How?
Can we see?
Yes, I don't know. Now I don't know that they're allowed to be on a podcast. So
They're not
don't
on
say
the
anything.
podcast. I'm just talking to 2 friends.
Oh,
They're not actually on the podcast.
They're on your phone. They're not on the podcast, right?
yeah, I don't know that everybody sees it that way. So
We also happen to be on FaceTime.
okay.
Are we not allowed? Is Bloomberg kicking us out?
No, I would love to, but it's CBS. You need permission for these sort of things. So.
I don't know.
Oh, they don't care.
I don't think they need permission. Have you
no,
seen
I
what's
mean,
going on?
Carson and Carolyn don't care.
Oh well.
Oh, is this rule number 8? The missing. Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God. This is Bloomberg.
We want you on. We just need to go through proper channels. That's all.
Come on.
See, I told you.
We don't even.
That's amazing.
I know
I
you
love
don't
this.
care, but your handlers do. So
Yeah, that is true. You do have handlers. Well, this is
Yeah.
amazing. I love
You're
that they're
very
here.
famous right now.
Oh,
Okay,
are you
now you're
frozen now,
frozen.
Voce?
now
What
it's-
happened?
I didn't
Voce
do it. I
just got
swear.
You didn't do
frozen.
it, Bloomberg?
didn't do it. No,
Okay, now
okay.
you're back. Well, we
so
love
we
you
were
both.
just
All right, guys.
saying that Bloomberg is going to do a TikTok of Voce saying that I am a movie star, right, Bloomberg?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Noted.
All right.
We love you.
We'll
We
talk.
love you guys. Thank you. That was hysterical. Love that.
That's so
Oh my
funny. I was
gosh.
writing, Carson was writing before. We were dying. Oh my
Listen,
God.
that was kind of like when I snuck someone into the podcast that
Well,
one
so
time.
they asked if I could sneak them in, and I was looking at the settings, and I was like, I don't think that I have permission to do that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but I'm worried if I tell Bloomberg he's going to be his normal, like, grouchy self and be like, you can't do that, it has to be approved.
It's not me.
Well,
Oh,
If it were up
grouchy
to me, it would
self.
be fine. We all have bosses here.
I
you
find
know.
But
it interesting
listen,
now
did you
you
hear
care.
how he described you? Normal, grouchy self.
you know.
I love that. Should be on your T-shirt.
Bloomberg, we just want to know if you have a can that you go into at night.
I can't.
That's all I want to know.
No.
Okay,
No.
we got to get you one of those.
Oh,
And look what
okay.
I have, my little tiny itty bitty microphone that doesn't work.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm not even
Normal, grouchy self. I love that.
Normal, grouchy
I'm gonna
self.
write that one down.
Okay, great. Thanks.
That should be rule number. What are we up to? 15, 16, 19?
No.
11.
You don't follow rules anyway.
I don't follow any rules. I'm not a rule follower.
No,
So-
that is true.
So
This is very
speaking
true.
of Carolyn, who just popped on there, and yeah, anybody
was
who's
incredible.
just listening, they're probably wondering what's going on because I don't know how much you could really hear them. But yeah,
We had a
so-
couple extra guests.
yeah. And
Can I tell you though, you have now messed up my ability to look at Carson any other way than that one TikTok you created.
Am I a
man?
Or a Muppet?
I a Muppet.
Yeah.
Jessica, I sing that
I'm
on
like,
a daily
that's
basis.
all I see. That's all I see.
You ruined
I
it for me.
saw it. I saw it the minute that he made that face. I saw it.
Hilarious. That was hilarious.
That
So
was
yes,
actually
this is
one
all
of
I
your best
see.
ones.
Well,
It really
thank you.
was. Yeah. Loved
Um,
it.
So
Look how handsome Voce looks sitting there like that. Voce, you should be a model.
model
I love
slash
it. Look at him.
neurosurgeon.
And
Sounds like-
he's playing right
sounds like
into it.
some- Oh.
Oh,
he's giving you a pointer finger. We can't.
I'm not sure if that's is that an invitation or is that
All
are you
right.
being-
So
okay, moving on.
moving on.
Am
Neil
I a
Allen.
man
Neil
or
Allen
Am I a Muppet? Okay, go ahead, moving on.
also asked, how will Carolyn affect the game people play in the future seasons? Does she redefine the emotional character archetypes in a positive way, and how so?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think you're going to see a Carolyn after a Carolyn. I don't think that she is a character that is easy to find. I think she's really a one and done type character. She's she is just I've never met anybody like her.
Right.
Really like her.
Right.
And I would think that maybe people would try to act like her.
Tiffany, you
But-
talked to her before she went out, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all group chatted.
You and I. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you and me with her. And
Yeah.
you said the same thing then, that there
Yeah.
was no one like her.
Ever.
Like,
I said she'll either be voted out first or make it to the end. That's exactly what I said. But she is her own archetype. I don't think that they're
Yeah.
going to ever be able to find someone like her again, which is, I think there was many people have said it. She is very unique, and everybody, of course, nobody's ever exactly like somebody else, but she is really, she's just a whole nother dimension of human that, is fabulous. And I don't think they're going to find someone like her, but I think what she did do is make people who maybe feel like they are, different or weird or whatever she describes herself as, they may feel more comfortable because of seeing Carolyn go out there and be unapologetically herself and, you know, have no qualms about being emotional and who she is. I think people are always emotional on the show. And that is the one thing I don't fully understand. I mean, I've heard her say it and I've heard everybody keep saying, oh, she's so emotional. Many players came on and were super emotional, crying, the whole thing. I think she's, I don't know if emotional is the word that I would have used to describe her if I were like really, you know, analyzing this. It's more like she's just, her expressions and her language is different than.
She's very honest with how she feels.
And I don't want to say it's emotional because I feel like emotional has this like negative, like, you know, emotional can be great. I think she's full of expression and she feels everything through her emotions are like physically seen. Like everything is through her voice and her body movements. And I don't think that is something that is easy to come by. I just think her language is just so different. And it was very refreshing, obviously. And she was very loved for it. And I just think that, you know, they hit gold. They struck gold there.
Right.
And, you know, I'd be shocked if we ever saw another Carolyn. Personally, I would be.
Yeah. And I think that the game that she was able to play is a very difficult game for someone like her to pull off. And this is actually Richard Hatch actually talked about this. And I was blown away because he really described it so perfectly well. Like what she was able to accomplish with the way that she was playing the game is incredibly impressive because, as you said, Tiffany, I mean, either she's going to get voted out first or she's going to make it to the end, because normally people who have more exuberant personalities and they're unabashedly themselves, if I'm saying that term correctly.
I was going to use that word. I was afraid it wasn't going to come out right.
You know, but like she was not afraid to really show who she was. And that can work against you or it can work for you, but it can work for you in bad ways because it could make someone think, I'm going to take this one to the end because they aren't going to get any votes in the end because of the way that they act and the way that they behave. But it worked for her, and it worked for her so exceptionally well that, yeah, I totally agree. I don't think we will ever see someone play the game like her because that is a very, very difficult thing to pull off, and to do it as well as she did. It really just incredibly impressive all around. So I agree. She's completely unique. I don't think we'll ever see another one like her. And if someone tries, it's going to be awful. Right. Just not going to work.
No,
it's not going to work.
No. And I think even if like, unfortunately, if there is another Carolyn out there, I really have a hard time believing that anybody be like, oh, they're acting, you know, like they're just trying to be like Carolyn. Like,
right.
You know, she's just herself always. I mean, she's the same through and through. And, you know, I'd argue that we could all say, oh, you know, that's how I am, or that's how you are. But it's visibly different. She is, you know, a completely different archetype than we've ever seen. And I'm glad it worked for her. I really am, because I'm sure in life, I think, you know, it maybe hasn't always worked for her. And she's probably hit many a wall, you know, trying to just being herself. And, you know, to come out here and do this with people who are all eyes on you, and still trying to win something and try to be part of this and keep your composure as well as she did and navigate the waters as well as she did. And she was really, like, she really played the game. I would never have thought to put an X on that cage. Like, who thinks like that? I mean, that was like really, I thought that was incredible. I was like, that is freaking, especially not eating, not sleeping, and being paranoid and everything else. And to think like that is just, and she never told anybody what she had. Like, she did all the things you're supposed to do. And she's, you know, she's just who she is. I mean, and and it's great. It's great that she is who she is. And I applaud her for everything that she did. I know she was super worried. So, you know, she did great. And no, I don't think we're going to see another Carolyn. That's my final statement. Never.
Final answer.
Final answer.
We'll see Carolyn again.
I will see Carolyn, but we're not going to see another Carolyn, you know, on there, unless it's Carolyn, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from a similar standpoint, Jason Selling, former coworker of mine, said the past 3 winners have had large/quirky personalities with relatively under the radar games. How do you think this will affect how threats and targets are assessed going forward?
That's a good point.
Mm.
I think that in this era, we are welcoming different. We are welcoming
Mhm.
everything that in the
Quirky.
past we wouldn't have welcomed as much. So I think it's got to play itself out a little bit. And then I think it'll just kind of swing back to the middle where it sort of kind of evens itself out. I think everything is, kind of working its way through. Is
Mhm.
my guess, a little bit kumbaya too, right? And my guess is it's going to eventually people are going to get tired of it and be like, I'm over it. Like, that's what I think. I think people are going to start getting out on that island and be like, I want to shake shit up. Like, I'm over it,
Yeah.
And not to be mean, but I just think that that's just the way of the world. That's how the world works, So that's my guess. Anybody?
Voce, what are you doing over there?
He's
My
probably
dog.
still. What?
You're
What? Ew.
Aw. There's a
Aw.
puppy.
That's my baby. Luca. That's my
She's not
Luca.
looking.
That's our
She's
son.
not. He's not Luca-ing.
He's not looking at me.
Yeah.
Stupid
Yeah.
dog.
So Amanda Parsons asked, and I should have asked a follow-up on this because I'm not sure what she's asking. How would you make Survivor more balanced, or do you like the current system? So interpret that however you want, because I'm not sure.
More balanced
Yeah.
in the current system.
Okay.
Sorry,
Sorry, Amanda,
I
we
would
don't
say,
understand.
listen, you want to make it more balanced? Let's do 2 tribes instead of 3. I just feel like
Yes,
there's more
yeah.
balance in that.
No,
I agree.
it's
20
literally
players.
balanced. Yeah.
More balance.
20 players.
More
Two
Oh
balanced.
my
tribes.
God,
beings.
Jessica, I just thought you said horny players. I was like, what the hell? I was like, are you okay?
I mean, we
And
had
that's
2
so-
of those.
I am fine, but
We had 2 of those,
but that
you
would be, I mean, that would be fun too, right?
Right,
But
totally.
I do think that we need at 39 days. There's so many things that we could change about
Yeah.
the balance of the game. Yeah.
Well, and that,
I'm
yeah,
kinda
looking
tired.
at, I suspect that's what she was asking, is balanced
3
in that
tribes.
way, that
Yeah.
which we already talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
All right,
over
Andy-
the 3 tribes.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
am so over the 3 tribes.
Like,
I am
done
so
with
over
that.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
There is such little room
Ugh.
to hide and
Especially-
maneuver when there's only 6
and-
players.
It's
and
not as
3
fun.
tribes that stay 3 tribes.
Yeah.
Merge them into
Right.
2
Right.
after a few votes.
Exactly.
Do
Mix
something.
things
Yes.
up.
I'm
Yes,
hoping
please.
it's annoying. It's like playing a bad game over and over again. It's like, oh my God, why are we starting at 3 again?
Yeah,
just-
like let's switch it. I was so happy when I started like counting people at Ponderosa, and I'm like, okay, there's 20 of us. This is great. And yes, if something had happened, they could have all of a sudden it could have been 18, sure. But
Yeah.
knowing that there was 20 and then going out there and having the 2 tribes of 10, it completely changes the dynamic completely because the numbers become so much more significant. And
Right.
and I mean, if you have 6 out of the 10, you're like, all right, we got this. Like we're fine. We're going to be in control. But when you've got 6 players, it limits your ability to
Voce knows.
strategize. Yeah, Voce knows.
And the flip side of that also is that again, these small tribes when they're not changing and you vote down the numbers, that means that for over half of this time that you're playing, you're only with a super small number of players.
Right.
So this is what we talked about in the beginning. It's like, where the post merge is so short and so quick, like you don't have time to make relationships, and the only people that you've made relationships with is like the Tika 3. I mean, I think the reason why the Tika 3 are so close is because they were together the entire time.
Well, but they weren't. Carson wasn't. Carson was swapped away, but
that's true.
He stayed in.
That was only for 1 night, 2 nights.
It was a few nights. I'm not sure.
I think it was
Jamie.
2.
But Jamie and I think also Lauren said in interviews, like, yeah, we needed Carolyn to tell us what she'd done in the game because we only met her at the merge.
Right.
We didn't know what had happened before then.
Oh, yeah. Also, though, that 26 days, if they're going to want 90-minute episodes, they really
Yeah.
should make it they should make a 2-tribe again, because at least you'll have a lot of like discussion and you'll have
Yeah.
a lot of different groups going at it. At least
Right.
you'll have
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's the one way you can like offset this 26-day and make it a little more interesting, because the 3 tribes, I mean, it's like, come on, man.
Jeff likes it dangerous.
I know, but you know what?
Oh,
It's not
gosh.
dangerous. What it
I know.
does is it
Well,
dwindles
was to
down one
Voce.
team. One
Yeah.
team gets dwindled down to nothing, and it
Voce,
becomes-
he's gonna keep mentioning it. He's
Well, no,
just
I'm
he's
just pointing out this is the problem.
digging
He
in a
knows.
little bit.
No,
What
I'm
is he mentioning?
no, I'm just saying, what it's, the danger involved and everything else. Yeah.
No, he's trying to
Um,
break us up, Voce. But
That's
our
what I'm
love
saying.
cannot be
He's
broken.
yes, he's got his little sword over there and he's
Our
just
love
poking the
cannot
bear.
be broken. We are bounded.
I will always hate you for that vote, Tiffany.
I will always
Yeah,
hate you
see?
for writing my name down too. Twice. Thanks.
I didn't write down your name twice.
Abraham vote. Oh yeah, you wrote Abraham.
What the hell?
She's using
Now
it
he's
as
getting
an
blamed for
excuse.
stuff he didn't even do.
Yeah.
He wrote
So-
my name the night I wrote his name. That's the only time I wrote his name, and that's
So
the
we're
only time he wrote
even.
my name.
Yeah.
Except for I went home.
Yeah.
It's not because of me, it's because of everybody else. But you love to blame me because you love me the most, and we
because of
always shit on the ones we love the
Because of
most.
you.
It's fine.
Because of you.
Whatever.
So related to what we were talking about the 4 seasons being similar, Garrett Bate said, "What can the show do at this point to make the seasons?"
You're not skipping past that.
What did I
If you
say?
think I'm gonna let that one fly,
What did I say?
I like how all
What did
three
he
of us were like, wait, what? Did he?
What did I say?
You just
What
said
can the-
douche.
No, I
Douche.
said, "What can the do show?" I meant to say, "What can the show do?"
Yeah,
Douche. Yeah.
just
What can the
okay.
douche?
No, that's not what I
Anyway.
said.
Moving on.
This has
make-
now become a Massengill conversation.
Oh,
We
no.
are now.
To what can the
Kevin and
show do to make the seasons feel more distinct and unique? Because the last 4 feel like the blur of sameness.
Oh, well, how about we stop going to Fiji?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
that's not going to happen. So
I know,
mean, we
but,
need to.
but they're
but
asking what our honest,
I know,
opinion
but we
is,
should
right?
keep it in the realm of at least possibility.
Okay, I
Well-
got it. One hidden immunity. No, just one. Let me think.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll just do one. Like really, let's go back to base. Let's go really back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one hidden immunity. I don't like all these treks. I hate that shit. Do a tribe swap, right?
And do
Mhm.
2 tribes. I mean,
And
I
do
think
2
that
tribes.
I think you really want to make
Like
it
take
stand
away all
out.
the shit and put it in the player's hands.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
If you really want to make it stand out, and I don't remember who said this. It might have been Zach on the feedback show. It might have been
Less
someone
is
else.
more.
I think he might have. So whoever it was saying, we can already predict. I'm pretty sure it was Zach. We can predict season 45 how it starts.
Yep.
3 tribes. They come together. They do a challenge. Whoever
Mhm.
doesn't win has to pick Sweat or Savvy. They both succeed. And then they go on a journey. And then, so yeah, they do need to do something to change it.
It's a game show at this point. Like,
can we
it's
just-
literally a game show.
Can we just pause right here? Because that just reminded me of something that I don't think we ever brought up. The
Okay.
Sweat versus Savvy. Brandon
Yeah.
and I forget whoever was like, why would we do anything but the Sweat? That's got to be easy. Did these people not
Mhm.
watch prior Survivors?
Oh my god.
I mean, but they just figured, you may have had problems, but you're not a football player like him.
Yeah, but I mean, they barely finished that
I know.
Yeah.
but-
from it. And then
People don't understand. You
Is
don't
he-
understand what it's like until you're out there, how brutal these things are.
Well,
Like,
that and the other was a puzzle, and I don't think they exactly had confidence in themselves on the puzzle.
it's like if if it's a puzzle that you have one guess on and you know you're not going to get that, or that's going to be super hard to do,
Right.
at least with the Sweat you have a shot.
Yeah.
With
Mhm.
with the wrong guess you're done.
Yeah.
All
All right. So Andy Martin wants to know, and this is mostly originally at me, but we'll put it for everyone.
Oh,
What
that's so kind.
bit
Wait.
of what bit of propaganda, either on the show or in his podcast, made us the most annoyed? So to that, as anyone regularly watching knows, there's so much. It's hard to narrow it down. I would say his usual stuff about full tilt boogie and risky play, which is
big
just his
moves.
new way of saying that. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I think that is the biggest, because he is so clearly promoting the TV show aspect at the expense of the players' games.
Yeah.
And he makes it sound like it's good for the players when he knows full well it's not.
Well,
Yeah.
This goes back to the whole. This is what goes back to what drew me to your podcast, is because you said you always say players should play to win $1 million, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yes, Survivor, you get this like awakening experience, but you shouldn't go to play Survivor, in my opinion, to have an awakening experience.
Right.
You're there to win $1 million.
I was there to change my life with money.
Playing Survivor. And these are other you get other benefits from it. I get negative, which was Tiffany, but you get these positives. But I feel like the focus, again, this goes back to the crap, is that the focus is all on look at who everyone has become and the transformation they've become.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a retreat. It's become a retreat.
Like,
yeah.
Like, as opposed to, like, I think it's cool to see how people evolve. Like David from your season, Jessica, that was a cool evolution to see.
Right, for sure.
See everyone's evolution. Like when you have a standout person like that clearly changed from beginning to end. I think that's awesome to see that. But it's like everyone, what Jeff is promoting is this transformation that everyone has, and I think it just gets tiring because that's not the game.
Yeah.
And you see the game.
Yes. And I do think that it's one thing to say, like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have an experience and I can't wait because this is all about me and this is all like my time and I don't have to worry about anything back at home, job, kids, family, whatever. So it's one thing to be like, I'm going to focus on me, but you're going to focus on you to win the game, as opposed to like, I'm going out there for this experience and it's going to be lovely and wonderful. And I don't even care if I win. And I think you're doing a disservice to just Survivor in general if you're not going out there to win. And so you have to be mindful of all of those moves that you're making. It's not just about the big moves. It's about actually getting to the end and winning. And yeah, I do think that's a problem for sure.
I remember when we were there's an extra scene of me sitting with Xander and Evie and Liana talking. I don't know if you saw it, but they were like discussing something with me, like about camping. I'm like, I hate camping. Like, ew, this is horrible. Xander's like, you'd only camp for $1 million. I'm like, yeah, do you see anybody else out here on this island right now? No, there's a reason for that. Because what in the hell? Why would anybody be like, you know what? No food, shitting in the ocean, no deodorant, no toilet paper, sign me up. I just want to go change. I could do that shit in my backyard. I don't need to go to Fiji for that. I want the $1 million. Then I'll do anything short of eating, I would eat pretty much anything. I don't care.
Listen,
but at the end of the day, like that's the truth. Like I was going out there. Yes, it was great. I said the same thing. It's me time. Finally, I've never been able to just focus on me. But ultimately, who's doing this if there's not $1 million on the line?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I 100%. My husband was like, Jessica, you don't even go camping and you're going to play Survivor. I'm like, yeah, that's because there's $1 million price tag at the end. Of course, I'll do this. Yeah.
I'll be there.
I don't know if you guys remember, they asked in the beginning of for us, I don't know if in preseason they've asked, would you rather $1 million or the title of Sole Survivor?
Oh, yes.
Sydney were the only two. Tiffany even said she'd rather.
I said it's hard to choice. I said I think I'd love to be the Sole Survivor. I said, but I'd be winning the $1 million. So,
how did 16 out of 18 people say they would take the title?
No, I would take the title.
I want the money. I want the money.
I mean, could have been. But remember Russell Hantz tried to buy.
He did. He tried to buy the title.
Because he just wanted to say he won. Which he didn't. And so, Yeah, but to get back to the question, the more we've talked about this, I think to put a fine point on it, the worst part of the propaganda was after Jam Jam won, and Probst turns to the camera and says, there were lots of big moves and, whatever. Specifically at that moment, after Jam Jam had just won, not doing anything that Jeff says, he wants people to do. And then he acted like he was gaslighting us. Like, oh, did you see Jam Jam? He just did all those things. No, he didn't. He didn't do any of those things.
Right.
And that's one reason he won, because he didn't fall for your BS. So that's the worst, I guess.
Wow, Bloomberg, you have some inner anger I think you need to work out.
I love it.
Oh,
when
no,
he
it's
gets
not
angry.
inner. It's outer.
It's outer.
Yeah.
It's
an
the
outie.
normal grouchy self.
Hey.
Good Lord. They've just made marijuana legal in some places. You might want to look
it's
into
been for a while here, but I don't. Yeah.
You don't?
No.
Right. You might want to think about it. Makes people happy, apparently.
Yeah.
No?
I don't know. Most things
we'll talk about it.
Sick. So
no.
Yeah. So
no.
So all right, on this same trend here, Jonas Kinsey wants to know which of the four of us podcasts most full tilt boogie. Yeah.
That's a bad thing, Tiffany.
Yeah, we know. That's why she's raising both her hands. Yeah, I knew the answer to this, but I didn't,
Listen, I own that shit.
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
You own
By the
it.
way, for people who are only listening, Tiffany raised both of her hands.
Yeah, not
I
just
did.
one hand, both hands.
2 hands.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. Listen, I am never apologizing for my full tilt booginess. Is that even a thing?
It is now.
Whatever.
All right. Giovanni wants to know and actually there were a couple people asked this, which Tika 3 best represents each member of the Three Stooges? Because, they called themselves the Three Stooges. So.
Oh, well, is the bald one, was that Curly?
Curly.
Okay, that's Carolyn.
Okay.
That's definitely Carolyn.
Yes. Which one was Mo?
Jam Jam is Mo.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Oh, no, you don't know what this is.
The Three Stooges were actual people?
Oh, my God.
What?
This is a neurosurgeon. Okay, now you understand.
Insane.
Yeah, but
wait,
what question? You said
what?
something before that you didn't know. God, what were we talking about? What?
Peeps.
Oh, yeah, Peeps.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
You don't know the
Peeps.
Three
You didn't know
Stooges?
Peeps
Okay, I
either.
don't care what year you are born. You living under some kind of rock that you need to crawl out of immediately.
Oh, my gosh.
No, but I just thought that was like a saying that you say when there's three kind of like goofy
What,
people.
you don't know Larry, Curly, and Mo? You think it just came up? Three
Never
Stooges,
heard it.
somebody said?
Never
Oh,
heard
God.
it.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, if I didn't feel old before, now I fully feel old.
Yeah.
But also, do you even know what, the Brady Bunch is?
Oh, yeah, I know that. It's
How about the Partridge Family? How about My Three Sons?
No, never heard of that.
Oh, God, kill me.
Tiffany, why are you not educating him?
I'm educating him in other ways. I just have so much time in a day.
This needs to be worked on.
All right, so
I know. We got to work on our past TV history.
Yeah. So did we so we think why is Jam Jam Mo? Do you think he's mean and bossy?
No, I think that's the thing. It's not a mean and bossy. I feel like Mo was the one that was trying to could keep order as much as he could, and I feel like Jam Jam was trying to do that.
See, I would say
more
Carson
so.
was because Jam Jam kept trying to, Carson kept, at least from what we saw, Carson kept having to talk Jam Jam down from should we go after Carolyn? Should we go after Carolyn? Should we go after Carolyn?
Maybe they were just the Three Blind Mice.
Well, that is the theme song for.
Yeah, but I also feel like Larry was a little more,
socially aware.
Not even just socially. There's something a little more fun loving. Not that Jam Jam wasn't fun loving. I feel like there was a little villainous in Jam Jam as well. Even though Carson was like, I love lying when people aren't here.
Yeah,
the way
Jam
that
Jam
he
was definitely
presented
more
it,
villainous.
right? The way that he presented himself, he was everybody's little brother, and everybody loved him. And I feel like that's more of a Larry as opposed to a Mo. That's just me.
I would put Carson at Mo.
Okay.
You know, but so, and we're not even going to bring Shemp into this conversation because he
Please
doesn't
don't.
count.
Please don't.
And right now,
Voce is currently, for those of you who
He's
are not
looking them up.
watching,
yeah,
he's currently Googling the Three Stooges.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yep.
So
There are so many like movies, Three Stooges, you got to
TV
watch.
shows,
My
yes.
father loved it when I was
Oh,
growing
yeah.
up. He used to watch it all the time.
At one point, my parents told me I wasn't allowed to watch because of the violence, but
Really?
I ignored them.
Oh my gosh.
It's in black and white.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
can
you know,
you
black and
imagine
white
such
was
a
a
thing?
thing. That was a
The only
thing.
black and white thing I've ever watched is I Love Lucy.
See, there was a time, Voce, when black and white, when color hadn't been invented in the world. It's not that TV and movies changed; it's the world suddenly came into color.
Yeah, but I wasn't alive when.
Yeah,
Carolyn was a little bit of a Lucy.
Yes.
Yeah.
From
Yes.
I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
That might have
could
been
see
a
that.
little bit of like, if you looked at it in anybody in old TV history that was like Carolyn, or Carolyn was like Lucy, would be one that I would say maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. So remember those doctors on Twitter that you were talking about, Voce? Well, Dr. Jeremy Faust, who is an ER doctor and also has his own Substack and a whole bunch of other stuff. He asked, what if production made a compromise by actually telling all the players what idols and advantages would be in play at some point in the season? And also when swaps and merges would occur. So in other words, the twists would still be there, but it would be fair to all the players.
Oh,
so
no.
You can't. And I also think that all the players are already getting ready for those that they know might be there anyway. So it's kind of like they know they might be there, so they're already hedging.
Well, you say that, but like nobody knew about Sarah's thing that she never got to use.
Well, right. But I do think that I think part of this is like that it's a weird balancing act that Survivor has to determine. How much do you want to surprise the players and how much do you want to keep them on their toes? I think there are certain things that they should know about, like, I don't know, the introduction of fire making at 4. That is something they should not have surprised them with. I think that was incredibly unfair because it does really negatively affect people's entire games. But like idols and advantages, there's too many. We've already said that enough. But I don't think that you can tell them what to expect. But I do think that they need to limit some of the rules that are in place with some of these advantages because even the players don't understand what half the rules are for some of these.
Welcome to season 41. And by the way, you won, but you lost. So
yes.
Even Jeff has admitted that was a mistake. Although
that was a terrible idea.
It's funny. Rob pointed out on the feedback show. He said something like, "Yeah, there's this." I believe that's where it was. He was talking about how Jeff says on his podcast. It was interesting listening to him because on his podcast now, he loves everything current, but admits that he was wrong about certain things in the past. And it's like, Jeff, get a clue. And I don't know that Rob said this, but it's like, maybe you should learn something. Like maybe in 2 years, you'll be looking back and saying the stuff that you loved right now was also terrible. You just didn't see it yet. Because if you admit that you made mistakes in the past, that probably means you're still making mistakes now. So don't be so quick to talk about how great it all is.
Right.
All right. So another question from Giovanni. How would you rank the first 4 seasons of the new era? I think we talked about the 44 we thought was the best. And then 42, and then 43, and then 41, because there wasn't enough Voce in it. But that's my ranking: 44, 42, 43, 41.
No way.
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
41 was the best.
David?
No, I agree with you 100%, David. The way your order exactly.
Okay.
No. I think a couple things. One, I think everyone can agree 43 was pretty bad.
But 43 is going to come before 41?
Yeah, and here's the reason. I think 41, there was so much emphasis on this is a new era, and here are all these different rules, here are everything. And there was so much focus on extra crap as opposed to actual Survivor. It almost wasn't. I felt like.
I agree with you, but doesn't that make the season like iconic?
No, it makes it a bad season.
Come on, Jess.
It makes it a bad
it's
season.
iconic.
I mean,
listen,
if Voce had made it further, then it might have been a good season.
It's iconic.
I think there are iconic people.
Yes, that
that
was
have
exactly
come
what I was going to say.
from 41.
The Queen of Ponderosa, iconic.
Iconic.
Iconic. You know, who wears a bug better than she?
Nobody.
And nobody, right?
Nobody
so
wears a bug better than I, with a bug on my left shoulder. The way I flicked it off was so eloquent and lovely.
It was magical.
That was magical.
No,
moment.
I do think that the order that you've provided is correct,
Terrible.
David. I would have to agree as well. But I do think that 41 they were learning. They were trying something new, and you were like the experiment, which is unfair.
Pigs.
Yeah,
You
which
can't
is
put us in
unfair
an
to all
order.
of you because you were the guinea pigs, and they've tried to improve upon it, but they still haven't fixed it.
So bring back the entire 41 cast and say, I'm sorry. Let's try again.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Some of you can come back.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's bring some of us back and try again.
Yeah.
That was a shit season to be on, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're approaching 2 hours here, so let's go a little rapid fire, although we're getting close.
Okay.
Philip Marshall wants to know, Tiffany, who wins the worst balanced performance of the season? Is it Matt for not being able to balance tribe alliances, or is it Danny for only going full tilt boogie?
You are all making fun of me, low
Yes,
key.
he said with love.
Come with love. With love. I'm going to have to say Danny.
Okay. I tend to agree. Now, he also had a question for Voce. Does it hurt having your best third boot player of the new era stripped by Claire?
Wow, he
thinks Claire's better than you.
That's rude. It's very rude. And I would disagree.
This guy came for us, Voce.
He did too.
What the hell?
I know.
Did he get it with love as well? Did Voce get it with love?
He got it with love also.
All right.
You got it with love?
This is me?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be arrogant, but I mean, really? I mean, I would even go to ask Tiffany. Tiffany, what are your thoughts on this?
I plead the
fifth.
Not even the fifth. I'm rendered silent on this because Voce.
I don't like your fans anymore, David.
David, your fans are getting grouchy too. And they're coming for me and Voce in one Twitter post.
No, man.
I'm telling you, this is why there were certain listeners that were really excited, and then other ones were like, "Here we go."
No, they wanted to see what you would say,
Okay.
What? So, the person on Instagram who goes by the handle Too Many Advantages. So,
okay. Love
that. They asked, do you think they'll just, now that they've gone through all these different ways of phrases and bead collectings and bird cages, do you think they'll go back to standard hidden idols, or will they find some convoluted way? And if so, what would be your silly/creative idea for the next season?
I got one. I think they should plant an idol inside of a goat, and then the goat should make a poop on AstroTurf. And when the poop comes out and it's the idol, I need to go find it. And then once you find it, you have to go lock it up in a bird cage. Good idea?
Yeah.
Great idea.
That's what I thought. Mm-hmm.
I think they should just start taking idols and putting them around chickens and letting the chickens run around the island. Then you have to catch a chicken, which is incredibly hard to do.
It is. I could catch a shit out of a chicken.
But I'm just saying, they could definitely try that because we had a few chickens that were just like running around and we never caught the chicken. But I'm just there's an idea as well.
Okay,
But
so
let's
Um,
and listen. Are they going to go back to normal? No,
Never.
No.
45 is
Over.
going to be something else crazy and something else outlandish for sure.
I still like my idea of they feed it to a fish and then you have to catch that fish
Yeah,
out of
that's
the whole
um,
ocean.
probably a bad
In the
idea.
whole ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck
Mhm.
with that.
Yeah. All right.
That's a lot. I think we'd get it from the goat poop first.
Yeah. Well, yes, you would.
Just personally saying.
So here was okay. I was looking for this question earlier and couldn't find it. Neil asked, who would be targeted as a big threat in the event that they return on a future season?
From
Who
where?
would be?
Well, I mean, we're talking about 44,
Carson.
but
Oh, well, Carolyn, I think would.
Forget
if
it.
she comes back, I don't think she's going to last long.
do
Because
you,
people have,
or do they look at this and say, you were a 0 vote finalist, I'm not worried about you?
No,
No
I,
way. She's too loved.
she's too loved, and so that's going to be when you come back for a returning season. It's really going to be about how the other survivors perceive you and if they like you. And if she's someone who is getting along with the other survivors, then that's going to cause her to be an issue down the road. And so I think that people are going to look at her and think she's a threat because she's going to have a lot of friends here. And that's going to be, I think, an issue for her.
I think the same thing though with Carson though, because I think
Carson
Yes.
too. Yeah, huge
Yep.
threat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carson doesn't have the benefit of hiding himself now.
Right.
We've seen that before where people can hide parts of themselves, but
Now
then
it's
they come
over.
back and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, Carson, 3D puzzles, NASA, we saw what he did on his last season.
David
Yeah.
Wright was the same way. I mean, David Wright,
Monday.
nobody saw him coming on my season. And then when
Right.
he came back, everybody knew who David Wright was and how he played.
Yep.
What were you saying, Voce?
Carson, there's no way you want him to get to the individual immunities because
Right.
No, because he's got them all on lockdown.
he's someone that you would keep to do puzzles, and then as soon as he gets merged, he's one of the first people.
But you know what?
Mhm.
Now I feel like everybody is, going on Vexel and buying all these puzzles to make sure that they know exactly how to do them.
No, here's the thing, Tiffany. Even if you bought all those puzzles, you would still suck at them because that's who you are.
What the fuck?
Hey,
Just saying. I'm just saying.
What are you talking about, you big jerk?
Let me just say this. If you got one of those big circle 3D puzzles and practiced it every day for the next year, and then you went out and did that competition against Carson, you would lose 100% of the time.
Okay, well, now I'm coming for you because if you went out on Survivor again and you got in a tribe of 3 without fail, your ass would be off after the 3rd vote because that's the type of player you are.
Wait,
Wow.
wait. So that,
she meant a
Third
tribe of
boot.
6. She meant a tribe of 6.
yeah.
You know what I
I-
meant. No, I
I
meant
do.
3 tribes of 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever, Voce. You're mean. No more bullies.
Am I mean or am I honest?
Are you a man or
Both.
are you a muppet? Listen,
Um,
you've never seen me do a freaking puzzle. I don't even know what you're talking about. If you said something like a balance beam, fine.
Yeah.
But a puzzle? When is the last time we did a puzzle together, Voce?
I know you well enough, Tiffany.
Because I remember you doing a freaking turtle puzzle. I didn't do so hot. All right, I'm not gonna lie.
I was whipping through that puzzle.
You were whipping through shit, dude.
Had
You
us
were whipping through
far
shit.
behind.
You were whipping through your tampon that you were wearing because of your legs bleeding. That's what you were whipping through. Okay? That's what you were whipping through. Moving on.
Okay.
So Neil also asked, what's the right balance of playing in the spotlight versus behind the scenes? And I think this is something we discuss frequently, and this wasn't a balanced shot at you, Tiffany.
Oh, God, I'm so sick of it.
It was, and I think the answer is, it depends on the
you
season.
never know.
It's hard.
You never know.
I mean, we talked about, we can see when it's too early and we could see when it's too late.
Mhm.
And it's just in the moment, you have to figure out, okay. I mean, the people who go after, like when Danny voted out Brandon, that was way too early.
Yeah.
Agreed.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and, we've seen that multiple times where you knock out the threats too early.
Right.
But then you could say, some people went too late. And so it depends on who you're playing with, quite honestly.
Sure.
I mean, again, I'm going to say it again. How much of this is luck and circumstance? I mean, I don't know that everybody wants to make it like it's such a perfect little, there is no way to navigate this in the same way every time. Like every time you would
Right.
play, it would be a different outcome. So it's,
for sure.
how do you really, maybe there's a better way to do it or
Yes.
not, but it depends on what the cast is. And if that better way doesn't work with this cast, it might have worked with a different cast.
Well, right.
So
But that's why you need
that's
to be
the game.
flexible too. So
Right,
to
that's the
figure out,
game.
and be who you are to different people.
Right.
I
So-
will always be who I am to everybody, and this is who I am.
Yes.
Don't
All right.
come for me, because I will come 10,000 times harder at you.
Oh man.
That's right.
So I
Yes.
think that those
Those
are
are
most,
fighting
if not
words.
all. If I missed any of the questions that people sent in, I apologize, but some were duplicates, and so, but I do want, so for quite some time. Well, actually, let's get a few things out of the way. But then the people who watch video often ask, Jessica, you thanked Will from America for the theme song, and we never get to hear the theme song.
Are you going to play it?
So I'm going to play it after we go through a couple other things,
Okay.
and then we'll all sing along, because I know that Tiffany knows all the words. And I have not prepped her. I have not prepped anybody for this.
I know all the words.
Of course you do.
You don't know it, Tiffany.
Yes, that was sarcasm.
This is the podcast to hear their interests on.
Okay, I don't, Voce, you're not being nice to me tonight. You started off so good, and you just took a plunge.
So he started off real high. It was hard.
I
To go
know,
up.
and that
It was
I
hard to
should've
go up.
known.
You could only go down from there.
Voce is like a Survivor edit. If you start high, you're going low. If you start
Yeah.
low, you're going high. I
Yeah.
should have known.
So before we get to that, I do want to just mention again that you can get the poster.
Yes, you can.
Anyone
Tiffany,
but
I know.
Tiffany
Send me
can
your
get the
address.
You can get the poster unless you're Tiffany. Then you cannot get the
Yeah.
No,
poster.
send
Right,
me
and
your
it's at,
address.
I live in Hicksville. That's what Voce says, but I
Yeah.
don't really live in Hicksville.
Is it Rob has a website.com/yxlostfeed, and then you click on the poster, order it, love it, and as Carolyn says, live it.
That's right.
And then go to the you could keep scrolling and get a shirt so you can have it with you at all times.
Mhm.
And you can keep scrolling and get the checklist if you would like.
It's beautiful.
So other than that, before we like I said, get to
Our music.
our
Bed.
music.
Before we
Should
get
I
to
thank
bed.
everyone?
Yeah, go ahead and let's do that.
All right, let's do some thank yous. So thank you to Scott, Jill, and Derek for all of the editing that you do, not only for the Why Blank Lost podcast, but all of the content that you do here on the RHAP podcasting site. Thank you for all of the incredible work that you do. Chelsea does all of the posts for RHAP. So thank you, Chelsea, for all of that work. Tricky, thank you for the artwork, which you really can't see today because there are 4 of us, but it is beautiful and you can see a little bit of hints of it there. But thank you for that. And thank you to Voce and Tiffany for joining us today because, as always, we love having you. You are super fun, and we just the camaraderie between the two of you, and just the
That the
love
word?
that we
Is
can
that the
feel.
word? Camaraderie? Is that the word? Yeah. How can we reach each of you now? Voce, we know you're not on Twitter. You have your Instagram handle there. You are David J. Voce.
Mhm.
Tiffany, how can
I'm
people-
everywhere.
You're everywhere.
You can reach me on Twitter. You can reach me on Instagram. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me at my store at Reese'sPiecesClothing.com.
And how do you spell that? Because it's probably not like the.
Oh, that's my maiden
Candy.
name. It's ReissPieces.
I'm gonna go
It's-
look right now.
REISS. I knew some
REISS
Reese's.
Pieces
I
Clothing.
grew up with the Reese's twins.
You
So,
did?
Yeah.
See, so
Um,
I'm a Reese. I was formerly a Reese, but you can also reach Voce through me. So anything you need to tell him, you can Twitter to me,
No.
and I will Twitter it right to him
okay.
via text message.
Okay. And of course, Tiffany says she's everywhere, and I am also.
You are everywhere.
You can go to my link tree. So that's linktree/David Bloomberg with a dot before the EE. You can scroll down and see the links to everything for all the video sites, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm David Bloomberg TV. Voce even makes an appearance here in the
He
where you
does.
click on get a Rules of Survivor poster. Voce's picture is there holding it, which is kind of now rubbing it in to
It really is rubbing
Me.
in just a smidge.
you. Yes.
Just a little bit.
Rub it
God.
in. Enjoy it.
Yes.
Ugh.
So with that, I also want to thank everybody, but let's play the music, and we could all at least sing the chorus. So, are you ready, everybody?
I hope this works.
Lost survivor and you're feeling down. David and Jessica will turn it around. They'll break down the rules and they'll show you how. You played yourself and got voted out. This is why blank lost. And this is why blank lost. Baby, this is why blank lost.
I love that you were able to play it. Is it done?
Now it is.
Tiffany's
I love it.
It's so good.
So
This is
good.
why blank love. Yep, it's
Yeah,
good
that'll
stuff.
be in my head all night, and I'll be dreaming it.
Good.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Good.
then you could sing. I started to sing, and then I realized nobody wants to hear that. So
yeah, I was gonna say that was the.
yeah.
I was like, wait, who is actually gonna sing?
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely not going to be me because I do not sing well.
Mm.
Except
Better
if
than
I'm
me.
singing, am I a man or am I a Muppet? It's just so
Am
fun.
I a
And
man?
people will just have to go search for that on TikTok. It's low down at this point, but it's.
It is so good.
It's so good.
Thank you.
So good.
Yeah. Love that.
So
Well, this has been incredibly fun.
yes,
Always fun.
yes. We mentioned that Jessica and I will probably have some podcast in the off season.
Bloomberg's going to keep me working, everyone.
know,
So just
yeah,
be
we'll-
ready.
We'll figure that out. We've got. I was expecting to pick up Big Brother here, but that's not happening for a couple months, and then who knows? So yeah, but everybody should definitely check out the RHAP patron program in the meantime at RHAPwebsite.com/patron. And then also make sure you're subscribed to all of the reality TV RHAPup podcasts to make sure whatever we're filling the time with, you get it. And you can do that at RHAPwebsite.com/RHAPups feed. And, just subscribe to everything. So, yes. So thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Voce. Thank you, Tiffany. This was great as always. I hope everyone else enjoyed it. I just lost everybody. Where are you? There you are. Something popped up on my screen. I'm like, where'd everybody go?
Still here.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to do this again, next season or whenever. And like I said, hope everybody enjoyed it. I know I did. So
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Yay. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone.
all right. Bye.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.